the headlines we're following at this hour. South Korea and the U.S. have updated their joint deterrence strategy for the first time in 10 years amid North Korea's advancing threats. The allies also agreed to establish an early warning system on Pyongyang's missiles. President Yoon says the short-selling ban in the stock market will remain in place until retail investors are protected. Yoon will depart for the APEC summit tomorrow to tackle global issues. The healthcare crisis is worsening in Gaza with thousands of hospital patients suffering a lack of service. Meanwhile, Hamas has proposed exchanging some hostages for a ceasefire. Israel says there will be no ceasefire unless all hostages are released. South Korea hosted an inaugural defense ministerial meeting with UN command member states with a joint declaration expected on a collective response in times of emergency on the Korean peninsula. Seoul's Defense Minister Shin Won-sik and representatives of 17 UNC members attended Monday's meeting, including U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. Discussions focused on ways to maintain peace and stability on the Korean peninsula through the UNC. Shin stressed the importance of the meeting, saying it demonstrates the power of the international community against the evolving nuclear and missile capabilities of North Korea. The UNC was set up in 1950 to support South Korea against North Korea and now oversees the Korean War armistice. Meanwhile, South Korea and the U.S. also held their annual security talks here in Seoul. The allies have updated their joint deterrence strategy for the first time in 10 years amid North Korea's advancing threats. They also agreed to establish an early warning system on Pyongyang's missiles. Our Choi Min-jung reports.
The defense chiefs of South Korea and the U.S. have reaffirmed their commitment to bolstering extended deterrence against North Korea's evolving provocations. At a press briefing after the annual security consultative meeting held in Seoul on Monday, South Korea's defense minister Shin Won-sik said he, together with U.S. counterpart Lloyd Austin, noted that they will never accept any nuclear attack by North Korea.
If North Korea does use nuclear weapons, it will face an immediate, overwhelming, and decisive response from South Korea and the U.S., which will lead to the end of Kim Jong-un regime.
Austin highlighted the milestone in Washington's deterrence efforts, saying its commitment remains ironclad.
We are continuing to strengthen our shared readiness and our ability to fight tonight if necessary.
In a joint statement following the SCM, the defense chiefs revealed that they have decided to establish a shared early warning system to share detailed information on North Korea's missile launches. This would mean South Korea would be provided with real-time data on North Korea's missile launches from Washington's early warning satellite. Also, in commemoration of the 70th anniversary of the Seoul-Washington alliance, the two sides adopted the defense vision of the ROK-U.S. alliance for the first time since 2019. Through this vision, the two sides will pursue areas of cooperation, especially in the fields of science and technology over the next 30 years, in preparation for Seoul and Washington's 100th anniversary of the bilateral ties. The two allies have also updated their tailored deterrence strategy for the first time in 10 years. The agreement was established in 2013 for tailored deterrence against North Korean nuclear weapons and other weapons of mass destruction. The defense chiefs also stressed the need to strengthen trilateral security cooperation between South Korea, the U.S., and Japan, and continue the momentum established at the Camp David summit. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
South Korea and the U.S. are conducting large-scale joint naval exercises in the East Sea. The South Korean Navy announced on Tuesday that a joint naval exercise with the U.S. Navy started on Monday. Around 10 ships are participating from the South Korean side, including Seoul Ryong-song, an Aegis-equipped destroyer, as well as America's USS Rafael Peralta. The drills are designed to establish military readiness, especially with the East Sea having a high potential for complex warfare situations in which the enemy uses both ships and submarines simultaneously. The joint naval exercises will last until this Thursday. President Yoon has called for reinforced countermeasures to North Korea's growing nuclear and missile threat, criticizing the regime's apparent weapons cooperation with Russia. Responding to questions by the Associated Press, the South Korean leader said he plans to highlight the broad security implications and call for a strong response from the global community as he attends the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in San Francisco this week. Following Seoul and Washington's revision of their joint deterrence strategy towards Pyongyang, which includes the full use of U.S. military capabilities, including nuclear weapons, Yoon said North Korean provocations will trigger immediate retaliation by the allies. He warned that if North Korea successfully launches a spy satellite into space, it would indicate the regime has boosted its intercontinental ballistic missile capabilities. And on the sidelines of the APEC summit, the leaders of the U.S. and China will sit down for the first time in a year. Resuming military communications channels and the use of China's influence on Iran in the Israel-Hamas war are likely to be discussed. Bae-eun-ji has more.
U.S. President Joe Biden and Chinese President Xi Jinping are expected to agree on the partial reopening of military-to-military communication channels during their meeting this week. Citing an unnamed source, Kyodo News reported on Tuesday that Biden is set to request the move and Xi is poised to accept, given that senior Chinese military officials have also supported the idea as part of efforts to prevent miscalculations and reduce the risk of any inadvertent clashes. In a press briefing on Monday local time, the White House National Security Advisor also expressed hopes, saying China's dialogue on this issue has been constructive.
Having our two militaries in communication is the way you reduce mistake, you avoid escalation, you manage competition so it doesn't veer into conflict.
Earlier on Sunday, he also said that Biden seeks to reestablish these kinds of military ties with China so that there isn't any miscommunication. Beijing cut off military-to-military communications with Washington last year, after then U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan. Relations between the two countries escalated further in February, when the U.S. shot down a suspected Chinese spy balloon that flew over its territory. Meanwhile, the senior White House official also said Biden is likely to call on China to use its influence on Iran to not let the country take any actions that could worsen the situation in the Middle East amid the war between Israel and Hamas.
So President Biden will make the point to President Xi that Iran acting in an escalatory, destabilizing way that undermines stability across the broader Middle East is not in the interests of the PRC or of any other responsible country. And the PRC, of course, has a relationship with Iran, and it's capable, if it chooses to, of making those points directly to the Iranian government.
His remarks come as the Biden administration sees China, a big buyer of Iranian oil, as having considerable leverage with Iran, which has been supporting Hamas and Hezbollah militants. Bae-eun-ji, Arirang News.
The healthcare crisis is worsening in Gaza, with thousands of hospital patients suffering a lack of service. Meanwhile, Hamas has proposed exchanging some hostages for a ceasefire, but Israel says there will be no ceasefire unless all hostages are released. An Sung-jin with the latest.
Hamas said on Monday that it is ready to release up to 70 women and children held in Gaza in return for a 5-day truce with Israel. In a message on Hamas's official Telegram channel, the group said the armistice should include a complete ceasefire and humanitarian aid for the Gaza Strip. This comes as Hamas closed any hostage deals after the Israeli operations close to the Al-Shifa medical complex in Gaza City left that hospital at breaking point, with thousands of patients without electricity and water in need of other vital aid. Thousands had to flee as gunfire and bombings continued outside the compound. U.S. President Joe Biden called for a halt to attacks affecting medical facilities.
And it's my hope and expectation that there will be less intrusive action relative to the hospital. We're in contact and we're with the Israelis. The hospital must be protected.
However, the Israeli Prime Minister has already said there will be no ceasefire or supply of fuel into Gaza until the release of more than 200 hostages. Meanwhile, the Israeli Defense Forces said they successfully took over the Palestinian Legislative Council building in Gaza, which has only served Hamas's lawmakers. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said Monday that Hamas had lost control over the Gaza Strip as residents no longer trust the Hamas government. Gallant said that Israel's action in Gaza continued to destroy Hamas infrastructure and kill Hamas commanders, and that terrorists are heading south, leading to success in the northern part of the Gaza Strip.
An extraordinary achievement, truly amazing. There are no words. This is neither an operation nor a round but a war to the end. It is important to me that you know this. This is not lip service, but from the heart and mind.
Whether Israel will accept Hamas's ceasefire deal remains uncertain as fighting continues, yet criticism will continue from organizations such as the WHO and the UN if attacks on the civilian facilities carry on. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Before departing for the APEC summit in San Francisco, President Yoon addressed domestic issues, saying the top office and ministries recently visited 292 different sites to hear citizens' concerns to help shape the government's agenda and policies. Speaking at a cabinet meeting on Tuesday, he added that numbers and statistics are different from actual voices. He also called on the National Assembly to pass a bill that's been sitting idle, which seeks to push for redevelopment of Korea's older planned cities. He said the government's recent decision to ban the short selling of stocks will be in place until individual investors are protected. He also said the APEC summit comes amid global crises, and the Seoul and London bilateral exchanges will be enhanced with the new Korea-UK accord to be signed during his state visit to the UK on November 20th. Based on a public survey, South Korea has decided to keep its current labor system that limits maximum working hours to 52 per week. But it will allow the cap to be raised in certain industries. Our Lee Soo-jin reports.
The government is planning to give workers greater flexibility in working overtime. The Ministry of Employment and Labor on Monday released the results of a survey conducted from June to August of more than 6,000 South Koreans on working hours reforms. The government also announced its intention to raise the cap on weekly hours for certain industries instead of the originally proposed 69 hours across all sectors.
Taking into account public opinion, the government is committed to maintaining the framework of the 52-hour working week system while making changes for selected industries and occupations.
This comes 8 months after the administration unveiled in March a proposal to raise the maximum weekly working hours from 52 to 69. This was in response to certain sectors saying that it was impossible to meet deadlines under the 52-hour workweek system. It also aims to allow for more flexibility where employees can work more when there is a bigger workload and then take extended breaks when there is less work. The proposal, however, was met with a backlash over concerns that it may destroy people's work-life balance, leading the government to backtrack and conduct a large-scale survey to gather public opinion. The survey results showed that more than 54% of people surveyed agreed to raising the cap on weekly overtime hours in certain sectors.
The demand for greater flexibility in working hours is likely to differ across industries and jobs, but the SME sector is for it, regardless of the industry and the job given, if the union and management reach an agreement.
The respondents said the manufacturing industry and jobs in production needed the rise in overtime working hours the most. Over 75% of workers and more than 74% of employers said they would most prefer weekly working hours of less than 60, making it likely for the government to limit the working week to less than this. It is unclear when the government will be able to finalize reforms, as specifics such as which industries the cap will be raised in are yet to be confirmed. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
Hyundai Motor has broken ground on an electric vehicle plant in Ulsan. It will be the first EV dedicated plant in South Korea and will produce 200,000 vehicles a year starting in 2026. Yoon reports.
세계 제1의 무기가 있는데 그 무기란 바로 세계에서 가장 우수한 기능공들입니다. 어지않아 한국의 자동차, 우리의 자동차가 세계 시장을 휩쓰는 날이 온다고 나는 확신합니다.
His voice restored by AI, those were the words of Chung Ju-young, founder of Hyundai Motor, who started the company with a single assembly plant in 1967. And on Monday, the company broke ground on a manufacturing plant dedicated to electric vehicle production in the southeastern industrial city of Ulsan. The site in Ulsan is some 548,000 square meters, and construction is set to be completed in 2025. The company's mass production goal is to produce 200,000 vehicles annually, starting in the first quarter of 2026. This is the first EV-dedicated plant in South Korea, and the first domestic automotive manufacturing plant in 29 years since Hyundai built such a plant in Asan back in 1996. At the groundbreaking ceremony on Monday, current executive chair Chung Hee-sun shared the company's dream of building a 100-year heritage.
It's an honor for me to share with those here today the company's dream of building 100 years of heritage. Just as our dream of manufacturing the best cars has made Ulsan an automobile industrial city today, now we dream of making it a pioneering, innovative mobility city.
The Ulsan EV manufacturing plant is another stepping stone for Hyundai Motor towards electrification and in full support of the company's goal to become a leader in the industry. And according to company officials, the envisioned facility will protect workers' safety and allow convenience and efficient operations, while it also utilizes an AI-based intelligent control system and environmentally friendly, low-carbon production methods. The first model expected to be manufactured out of the new Ulsan factory is the GV90, Genesis's large-sized electric SUV. 이은진, Arirang News.
Last night, the LG twins captured their first Korean series title in 29 years. That also meant ending one of the longest championship droughts in the KBO League. Lee Seung-jae has more.
Top of the ninth inning, 2 outs with Bae Jung-dae at bat. The 2-2 pitch from LG Twins closer Ko Woo-seok led to a weak line drive to second baseman Shin Min-jae, who caught the third and final out of the Korean series. The 6-2 win on Monday night at a sold-out Jamsil Baseball Stadium in Seoul meant that the LG Twins had finally clinched the long-awaited Korean series title. It ended a 29-year title drought, one of the longest championship droughts in the KBO League. The 2023 regular season champions, who had a long break waiting for the KT Wiz to eventually advance to the Korean series, looked rusty in Game 1, losing 3-2. However, it was the long balls that brought the Twins back on track, with several dramatic come-from-behind victories that helped the Seoul-based baseball team win their title. In Game 2, down 1-0, Park Dong-won's 2-run home run in the 8th inning helped the Twins win Game 2 to even the series. In Game 3, down by 2 runs in the 9th inning, it was the Korean Series MVP and LG Twins captain Oh Ji-hwan's 3-run home run that helped his team win 8-7 and take a 2-1 series lead. Oh Ji-hwan finished the Korean Series with 3 home runs and 8 runs batted in, while also becoming the first player to hit home runs in 3 straight games in the same Korean Series. The Korean Series win sent fans into a frenzy despite the frigid November weather, and they hope they won't have to wait another 29 years for the next championship title. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Let's take a look at what's going on in the world now. In the United Kingdom, former Prime Minister David Cameron has been appointed as the new Foreign Secretary. This follows 10 Downing Street's decision on Monday to sack Home Secretary Suella Braverman and move Foreign Secretary James Cleverly into her post. David Cameron, the UK's Prime Minister from 2010 to 2016, stepped down from politics after losing the Brexit referendum. His allies claim that he wished for a return into politics from 2018, but a 2021 lobbying scandal hindered his aspirations. Cameron's appointment makes him the first former Prime Minister in around 50 years to rejoin the cabinet. It comes as part of a wider reshuffle by Prime Minister Rishi Sunak as the ruling Conservative Party is struggling in public opinion polls. In Indonesia, the race for the 2024 presidential election is well on the way.
With current President Joko Widodo limited to 2 terms, the country will choose a new leader in February next year. Indonesia's Election Commission announced on Monday approval for all 3 presidential candidates, Prabowo Subianto, the current defense minister, Ganjar Pranowo, former Central Java governor, and Anies Baswedan, former governor of Jakarta. The commission stated that all 3 candidates passed legal requirements. However, controversy exists over Subianto's running mate, Gibran Raka, who is also the current president's son. 36-year-old Raka, the current mayor of Surakarta, is younger than the legal minimum age of 40 required for presidential and vice presidential candidates. Last month, the Constitutional Court, headed by the president's brother-in-law, granted an exception for Raka to run in the 2024 election on grounds that he is already the mayor of Surakarta. In Iceland, a state of emergency has been declared with concerns over a volcanic eruption. So far, more than 3,000 residents have been evacuated from the coastal town of Grindavik, which is directly above the magma buildup and is prone to exposure to noxious gases and magma overflow. Scientists have reported that since late October, an increase in earthquake activity was seen especially in the regions surrounding the capital, Reykjavik. The 15-kilometer-long magma corridor stretching from Grindavik to the Atlantic Ocean is feared to cause another massive volcanic eruption, with concerns of a repeat of the April 2010 eruption, which caused the biggest disruption to European airspace since World War II. In entertainment news, superhero film The Marvels has seen the worst North American box office opening weekend out of all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe's movies. In its first weekend, The Marvels, which stars Brie Larson and Teyonah Parris, made only $47 million in North America and around $110 million globally. This is well short of the record-breaking debut of Avengers Endgame, which came in at $1.2 billion in its global opening run. The Marvel Cinematic Universe's previous worst opening for the North America box office was The Incredible Hulk at $55.4 million in 2008. The production costs are reportedly around $275 million, making The Marvels the 4th most expensive of any Marvel studio films. Kim Seong, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. It was another very cold start to the day, starting off below 0 in the capital, with a sharp wind making it feel colder. Though afternoon highs are set to surpass yesterday's, the mercury is still hovering a couple of degrees below seasonal norms this afternoon. A dry weather advisory is in place for East Coast regions and parts of Gyeongsang-Pukdo, as well as Busan and Ulsan. Be careful with anything that could cause a spark, and be sure to drink plenty of water today. Now this afternoon, highs are a couple of degrees higher than yesterday in most places. Seoul sees a high of 10 degrees, Busan and Jeju topping out at 14 degrees this afternoon. And there will be more clouds than sunshine today. Now Thursday is Suneung Day, the college entrance exam day. Starting off warmer than normal, but rain in the afternoon will bring down the highs to single digits. Also, the rain will bring another round of winter chill to the country on Friday. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
it wasn't just baseball fans who were closely watching last night's Korean series final, but also many of those who've been eyeing new home appliances. Because LG Electronics was going to drop a major sales event if LG Twins wins the title. And with the Twins' dramatic first championship in 29 years, sales promotions are expected across LG affiliates, ranging from electronics to cosmetics and telecommunications. It's like the sales that came after Samsung Lions and Kia Tigers won. LG has reportedly discussed giving the same amount of discount as the jersey number of the MVP player, or giving 29% off to signify the 29-year wait. Well, details should be out soon. That is all for today. Thanks for watching.